And then in 2016, I also ran again, both times against Charlie Dent. Both were uphill battles, and I think we did very well. In 2012, in Lehigh County, where Charlie Dent is best known, and I would be best known, with very little money in the campaign, but a lot of support from people like you, I got 47.5% of the vote. It was like this. It was close. Prior to that, though, they tacked on a very Republican part of the district, and that's why we did very well, but we didn't do well enough to be able to win. I'm looking this time out as my #1 issue. The point of the spear in terms of what I want to focus on are senior issues. You know, the reason I got involved in politics, it was back in 1983, and I was just out of college. I went to Moravian. I had a degree in social work, and I was working with kids who were in foster care because I wanted to try to help out. And very quickly, I learned that when a child is in foster care, obviously they're there because they don't have a family that can help. They're on their own, and they're getting help from the foster family. Once they graduated from high school, all services ended. It was like they fell off a cliff. A vast majority of those kids then, and sadly today, become homeless. They're exploited. It's a horrible situation. And it's very clearly wrong. I think all of us would agree that that's a wrong situation to allow to happen. And so as a social worker at Heimbrook Services, there was nothing I could do about it. And I learned, well, you want to make those changes, you go to Harrisburg or you go to Washington. And so I called my state rep at the time, your state rep at the time, and that was Paul McHale. And so I'm this kid out of college, you know, and Paul sat down with me at a diner. And I expressed what my concerns were. And he took it to Harrisburg, and they made some changes. And today, it's better than it was. But that's why I'm running for office, is to be able to affect change. And it does happen in Harrisburg and in Washington. And the issues I'm most concerned about today are federal issues. Senior programs are very important, and they are all Democratic programs. If you look at Social Security, it's a Democratic program, opposed by the Republicans back in the 30s. If you look at Medicare, it's a Democratic program, opposed by the Republicans back in the 60s. If you look at senior housing, it's a Democratic program. My father died when I was 15. I went to school here in Catasauqua. And my parents had a small business. And we had a tight Hungarian family, like the Syrian community. You got tight families. So we had help. We had people who were there for us. But I never had to change my school district. I never lost my house. I never had that trauma. And it was because of Social Security survivor benefits that we were able to keep going. Sure, we had family to help. Sure, my mom kept working. But if it wasn't for the survivor benefits, we wouldn't have been able to stay together as a family in that house. I went to college at Moravian. That's where I got my social work degree. I was able to pay off my student debt within a few years after graduating. College was less expensive then. However, survivor's benefits continued until age 21 for people that were in college. We elected Ronald Reagan, and that stopped. My younger brother didn't have that, because by the time he graduated, Ronald Reagan had gotten rid of that, and he wasn't able to get that college education. So Democratic programs have helped me personally. I've had a very charmed life. Going to school in Catasauqua was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. If it wasn't for being in Catasauqua, I never would have been a defensive lineman who started. You can get that on video. I got knocked down a lot, but still, I got back up. And it was a small district where you had a lot of attention from teachers and you had a lot of opportunities, like in sports, to be able to do something that I never would have had the chance at a really large school district. So when you look at senior programs, we're on the defensive. We're constantly told that Social Security is on the verge of insolvency. It's not true. and it's also easily fixed. We're told that Medicare is unsustainable. It's not true. When you look at costs for health care, Medicare is the lowest. And the outcomes with Medicare are the highest. And the per person costs with Medicare are actually going down over the years because we're focusing more on preventative care. If we cannot defend those programs and advance those programs forward, our entire progressive agenda is going to be difficult to move anywhere. So my attack, my focus is going to be on expanding the COLA for Social Security so it's based on the real cost of living that seniors deal with. Medical expenses are probably the highest cost of living increase that we see, and it's probably the highest percentage of expenses that seniors have. And yet, many times there's no COLA, and the COLA is so insignificant it doesn't mean anything. The base amount for Social Security needs to be increased. It's extremely important for people today. Social Security is going to be even more important for the next generation, for my generation. We don't have pensions. We're living paycheck to paycheck. We're not saving money. We're going to rely more on Social Security. There are very easy fixes for any of these programs if people are concerned about the financial future. First of all, eliminate the wage cap on Social Security. Right now, somebody who earns $100,000, $120,000, $130,000 is basically paying the same Social Security tax as somebody who earns $1 million. And that shouldn't be true. You increase the wage cap on Social Security, you increase the lowest level of what somebody would get so it's higher, that the base is actually higher for everybody, and Social Security is solvent for decades. Social Security, more than anything else, helps the economy. Because almost every dollar that's in Social Security, if people have paid into it, gets spent in small businesses, like the pizza shop that we're at today. That's what I want to focus on. That's going to be the point of my spear, and that's where I think I can win in this primary and definitely in the general election. So thank you everybody for coming out. Pizza will be on its way, and feel free to answer any questions. Many of you have probably heard these comments before, but I thank you for being with me. We're going to have a very strong, good primary, and it will strengthen whoever wins to be able to ensure victory in November. Thanks, everybody.